Today we're going to look at conversions between fractions and decimals. So we actually have three different types of decimals. We have something that we call a terminating decimal. And an example of terminating would be 1.25 or 0.4. And then we have two types of non-terminating decimals. One type is where it repeats. So an example of a repeating decimal would be 0.3333, and it just continues going on. We actually like to represent this with a little hat on top, a little bar or a little hat, and that's just saying that the 3 continues to repeat. Another type of non-terminating decimal is one that does not repeat, and an example of that would be pi. Pi is equal to 3.141592, etc. It has no pattern to it. In our first example, we're going to convert fractions to decimals. So if we have 2 divided by 5, and I'm going to write that using my long division symbol as 2 divided by 5. 5 goes into 2 0 times. So what we do is we put down a 0, put our decimal in, we add a 0 here, and now I can say how many times does 5 go into 20? And in fact, 5 goes into 20 4 times. 5 times 4 is 20, and if I subtract these, I get 0. So 2 divided by 5 is equivalent to 0.4, and that would be my answer. And this is an example of a terminating decimal. B says 1 divided by 9. I'm going to use long division again. 1 divided by 9. Now 9 goes into 1 0 times. I'm going to add my decimal. I'm going to add a 0 here, and then I can ask how many times does 9 go into 10? 9 goes into 10 one time, and if I subtract these, 10 minus 9 is 1. I'm going to add another 0. I bring this down. 9 goes into 10 one time, and I get 9. 10 minus 9 is 1. Notice that this is going to keep repeating. Every time I do this, I'm going to end up getting a remainder of 1. This is a repeating decimal, and I say that this is equivalent to 0.1 repeating. Alright, example 2, we're going to convert the following decimals to fractions. Now, I have 0.07. I'm going to instead write this as 0.07 over 1. Anything divided by 1 is just itself. I'm going to use the same technique I use when I find a common denominator. I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by, in this case, 100. The goal is to move the decimal place over so that I no longer have decimals. So 0.07 multiplied by 100 is just 7. I'm moving this decimal over 1, 2 times. So I get 7. On the bottom I have 1 multiplied by 100, which is 100. I always want to check to make sure that my fraction is in the most simplified form, and in this case, because 7 is prime and 100 is not divisible by 7, I am finished. So in question B, I have 3.125. I'm going to write this over 1 because anything divided by 1 is itself. Now I want to move the decimal places over 1, 2, 3 times. So I'm going to multiply by 1,000. There's 3 decimal places, there's 3 zeros. That means if I multiply the top, I must also multiply the bottom by the same thing. This gives me 3,125 divided by 1,000. Now I need to check to make sure my answer is in the most simplified form. And in fact it's not, because I know that they're at least divisible by 5, both of them. But in fact they're both divisible by 25. So start to think about your multiples of 25. 25 multiplied by 4 is equal to 100. So from here I could determine that 25 multiplied by 40 is equal to 1,000. So 1,000 divided by 25 is going to be 40. And now I want this to equal 3,000 to get closer to 3,125. Well, 25 multiplied by 120 is 40 multiplied by 3 is 120 is equal to 3,000. I'm not quite there yet. I need to add 5 more because 125 divided by 25 is 5. So in fact, when I divide 3,125 by 5, I get 120. and 25. Now, if my reasoning didn't quite make sense to you, feel free to either use a tree or you can do long division here. Either way, you're going to get to the same answer. Now, if I look at this one more time, I notice that 125 and 40 are both divisible by 5. So I'm going to divide by 5 one more time. 125 divided by 5 is 25. 40 divided by 5 is 8. So my most simplified fraction is 25 over 8. If it's okay that you leave it in an improper fraction, then this would be our answer. If they ask us to write it as a mixed number, then we're going to have to simplify this. To write this as a mixed number, I want to find out how many times 8 goes into 25. And it gets pretty close. 8 times 3 is 24. And 8 times 3 is 24, but I'm trying to get to 25, so there's 1/8 left over. Both answers are great. It just depends on what your teacher's asking you for. For example 3, we have some algebraic expressions that include fractions and decimals. So we're going to have to follow the order of operations to simplify these. So my suggestion is to write either BEDMAS or PEMDAS or PEDMAS, whichever you use. Next, I want you to convert any decimals or mixed numbers into fractions. So for this guy, I've got 4 multiplied by 2 plus 3 is going to equal 11 over 4 plus 1.5. You can do it the long way if you like. You can multiply the top and the bottom of this by 10, so we get 15 over 10. My suggestion is to simplify these fractions as soon as you can. Notice that the top and the bottom is divisible by 5. 15 divided by 5 is 3. 10 divided by 5 is 2. So I have a plus 3 over 2 multiplied by 1/2. Now, I don't have any brackets, I have no exponents, I have no division, but I do have multiplication. So we're going to do the multiplication first. I'm going to rewrite the 11 over 4 down, and then I have plus, and now I'm multiplying the top, which is 3. I'm multiplying the bottom separately, which is 4. Now I go back to BEDMAS. No brackets, no exponents, no division, no multiplication, but I do have adding. Notice that when we're adding fractions, we need a common denominator, and our numbers already have a common denominator of 4. So I can simply do 11 plus 3 is 14 divided by 4. Now this would be my answer if it was in the most simplified form. However, notice that both 14 and 4 are both divisible by 2. So my simplified answer would be 7 over 2. If your teacher's allowing you to write it as an improper fraction, this is fine. If not, and they want you to write it as a mixed number, you need to notice that 2 goes into 7 3 times, and the remainder is 1/2. Alright, let's go to B. Again, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write my acronym. I'm going to use BEDMAS. Second thing, we're going to convert decimals and improper fractions. So I have 1.6. I can write this as 1.6 over 1. I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by 10, so I get 16 over 10. My suggestion is to simplify this right away. It'll make your numbers easier. I can divide both of these by 2, so I get 8 over 5. I'm going to rewrite it in right below. Now I have 5 and 1/5. I'm going to use my little shortcut. 5 multiplied by 5 is 25, plus 1 is 26. So this is equivalent to 26 over 5. Now I'm going to subtract, and I have 7.3 over 2.5. We don't like to have decimals, so we're going to multiply the top and the bottom by 10, and I get 73 over 25. And I'm going to plug that back in. Okay, in BEDMAS, first thing, I have brackets. Let's do these. Now, I'm subtracting fractions. To subtract fractions, we have to have a common denominator. So I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom of this guy by 5. So I have 8 over 5. And I don't know what 26 over 5 is. So again, in my column, I'm just going to write 26 multiplied by 5. 5 times 6 is 30. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 3 is 30. So I have 130 over 25 minus 73 over 25. Oops. Alright, now I'm still in my brackets. I haven't actually finished anything yet. So I don't know what 130 130 minus 73. I'm just going to go to my column and write it down. I'm going to have to borrow the 10 here. 10 minus 3 is 7. This is a 2 now. I got to borrow this guy, and 12 minus 7 is 5. So I have in my brackets, I have 57 over 25. I'm always going to look at to see if I can cross divide anything, and in this case I can't. So it's unfortunate, but I'm going to have to do one last step. I know that 5 multiplied by 25 is 125. If you didn't know that, do the long multiplication in the column. I don't know what 57 multiplied by 8 is, so I'm just going to write this down. And 7 multiplied by 8 is 56. And 8 multiplied by 5 is 40. I'm going to add the 5, so I get 45. And of course at the end I'm always going to check to make sure that my answer is in the most simplified form. I'm going to leave this one as an improper fraction. This one is in the most simplified form, in fact. If I hadn't simplified along the way, for example, if I hadn't simplified this here, I don't think we had any other simplifications that we could have done. But I would have had to divide by 2 at the end. So my suggestion, I highly recommend simplifying fractions as you go when you're doing them. All right, last example here, arranging the following in ascending order. What is, oh, look at that, I've got a typo here. What is the ascending order? Well, I always think about it like if I go up to Grouse Mountain, I'm ascending up the mountain if I do the grouse grind. If I'm coming down the mountain, I'm descending. So if I'm ascending, it means to get bigger, okay? It means to get higher. So as I'm doing this, I want to put it in the order of smallest to largest. Now there's really 2 methods that you can do. I'm not going to do both. I'm going to do one method. We can talk about the other method. I highly recommend the first method. It will make your life easier. Now the first method, write each number as a decimal. All right, well we have 2 fractions. We have 1 over 6 and 2 over 3. So I have 1 over 6, and I'm just going to do long division on 1 divided by 6. Now 6 goes into 1 0 times. I drop the decimal, I put a 0 in. 6 goes into 10 once. I subtract these and I get 4. I'm going to put another 0 down. I'm going to pop him down. 6 goes into 40 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. Subtract this, I get 4. Now 6 goes into 46 times, which is 36. Notice that it's repeating already. So from here I can say, okay, well, this is equal to 0.16 repeating. The other fraction that I have to simplify is 2 divided by 13. 2 over 13. This is the same thing as 2 divided by 13. Now, 13 does not go into 2. It goes in 0 times. I pop my decimal in, I drop a 0, and it goes in 1 time. 20, take away 13 is 7. I'm going to put another 0 in. 13 goes into 70. Oh, how many times? I'm going to try 5 times. 3 times 5 is 15. 65. I can't add another 13 to that, so I have 65 here. And that was 5 times. And I'm going to subtract it, and I get a 5 out of this. My other numbers have either 1 or 2 decimals, and you could do one more step or 2 more steps if you wanted to, but I think from here we might be already able to see what's going on. So right below here I'm just going to write 0.16 repeating, and so that's what we have for 1/6, and just keep in mind that it's just the 6 that's repeating, it's not the 1. And then over here I have 0.15. There's some numbers after it, but I don't need them. So I'm going from smallest to biggest, ascending order. My smallest number I can see right now is 2/3. I'm not going to write 0.15 because the numbers that I was given was 2 over 13. The next number, the next smallest number is 1/6. And then I have 0.3. And then I have 0.56. And this is my solution. I always recommend students write the numbers that they were given in their answer, and then there's no confusion at the end. I hope this all helped, and good luck with your assignment.